Oscars month 2024 kicks off with one of the most revered films of all time. We're making you an offer you can't refuse because we're bringing you in to meet The Godfather. Stay with us.
Get ready for the 3324 podcast, where lifelong friends Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber share their love of all things music and movies. Dean has directed short films and is a music trivia buff. And Eric, trained in audio engineering, brings his extensive knowledge of music and film to the conversation as they discuss, debate, and celebrate their favorite albums, films, and much more.
Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast. Come on in. The water's fine. We've been waiting for you. And if this is your first time, you picked a humdinger of an episode to join us on as we are into our fourth season. This is the second episode in 4, Eric. Can you believe it?
Yeah. Another Oscar season is upon us.
Yeah,
Really
so this is our second year of Oscars month. So Oscars month is kicking off. So we're kicking off season 4 and we're kicking off Oscars month. So we're going to be doing, for this month, since there are four Thursdays in March, we'll be doing 4 Best Picture winners. So you can expect 3 more episodes to follow. Or if you're listening to this years from now, it doesn't mean anything. You could just listen to whatever you want and disregard the previous minute of banter.
Years
for those that are here every week, thank you for joining us. If you're here on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like and the subscribe button. They're right down below, approximately where I'm pointing, so you can go hit those. Leave a comment because we love to interact with our audience and let us know if some of our takes are spot on, way off, or what your theories are about The Godfather. We'd love to hear it. And if you're on the internet in general as well, join us on Facebook. We've got a great group there, well over 500 members that interact, fellow music and movie lovers. So the whole package. Next thing we'll be doing is going to your house and washing your car. That's going to be for season 5. Is in-person services.
Well, that ought to grab a few to get us to listen. Yeah, I think that'll work. Speaking of great groups, we have a great group with us tonight. We brought the A-Team, right? This is it. This is the OG group.
Yeah,
that's true. Talk about this fantastic movie.
3 OGs. OG1, Mr. Nick Corleone, also known as Nick Leshi. Welcome aboard, Nick. Nick is the creator of the City of Kick blog, so go ahead and check that out. We'll put a link in the show notes so you can go see that. It's a lot of fun. He does some very cogent writing there. Goes deep dive stuff, which I really like because the written form kind of allows you to do that a little bit more, and he does that. And he did recently a comprehensive deep dive into every person that ever played Dracula, even kids that were Dracula for Halloween. He found those kids.
I'm still recovering from that
one. He's getting flashbacks, but go check it out. City of Kick. We'll put a link to the show notes in there. Since they're in my setup, I'll go to the next one. Ms. Christy Cuomo, welcome to season 4 of the 3324 podcast.
I noticed I got to keep my last name.
That's up to, well, he put in Nick Corleone. I just go by what he puts his name in.
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
He's
always very clever.
Nick, but I was like, Nick Corleone works better.
Very bold. He's the 4th son.
The forgotten child.
No, that was Fredo.
The one, wow. Welcome aboard, Christy. Thank you for joining us. So happy to have you. And last but certainly not least, clean shaven. He's looking suave. He's dressed to the nines. He's putting all of us to shame. That's his plan, and he does it well. Mr. Sean Grady.
Thank you. Glad to be here, and congrats on year number 4.
Thank you.
Forward to what's yet to come.
Yeah, co-founder of Drama from the Past, and if you're listening to this episode when it comes out, they are ramping up for another season. So if you go to our Facebook page, you can find Sean there. You can see a little bit about Drama from the Past, sorry. We'll put a link in the show notes to the Facebook page for Drama from the Past so you can see their schedule. So if you're in the downstate New York area, Westchester County area, even if you want to drive a little bit, it's definitely worth checking out. He does historical short plays with his partner, Gary, and it's really just great stuff about the colonial Revolutionary War era. Very compelling because it's, not only well-researched, but they're passionate about it. which makes it so special as well. That, when you've got those two things, it's a knockout punch. So welcome aboard. Welcome to season 4, Sean.
Thank you. Let's do
Sean from season 1, his first episode, Glenn Ross.
Yep, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
An age ago, Eric. That was an age ago. We were kids.
All right. So what was Christy's first episode? What were you? Was that Goodfellas? Or
no?
Oh, geez.
No.
No, it wasn't. It the 90s. Nick was Batman Begins.
Mine was
and
in
then
top
Christy,
5,
I believe, wasn't it the top 5 of the 90s?
Was it? That was the first one?
I believe so.
It could have been. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you're right.
Eric and I were podcast pups back then. We were young. Part of the litter of podcasters but we have sustained, and we're enough banter. We're going to get to it. This is an expansive topic. So we're going to go through the stats. I'm not going to go too much into the backstory. There's a lot of compelling stuff. There's a great series called The Offer. If you want to find out about really the behind the scenes of The Godfather. So we don't need to kind of go through that because there'll be enough meat on the bone for us to talk about the film. So, but we'll do. I just have a couple of nice tidbits, but let's kick it off. This was released in March of 1972, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, written by Mario Puzo. So I'm going to put on a little Italian accent for certain things because, this is the only shot. Written by Mario Puzo, based on his novel, and Francis Ford Coppola also wrote the screenplay. $7 million budget. Not bad. $250 million box office. Even better. Very nice, very nice. Nominated for 7 Oscars. Was nominated for Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor for James Caan. Best Actor, there were 2 nominations there, Al Pacino, and Marlon Brando. Best Score, Best Director, Best Screenplay, and it won 3. It won for Best Screenplay. It won for Best Picture. That's why we're doing this episode. And it won for Best Actor, Marlon Brando, which would be his second win, but he would... Again, we'll leave this to the side, but he ended up refusing this Oscar at the time. There's controversy about that. About the treatment of Native Americans in film. He had a woman representing the indigenous peoples of the United States come up and accept it. Now there's been controversy about her, whether or not she actually was indigenous, and her family has kind of spoken out. So there's that could be a whole other episode. But yeah, this was kind of Brando's comeback because Brando was kind of in a dry spell. Even basically when Brando got into the 60s, he was just making odd choices, doing weird films, developing the reputation for being difficult, always late, not reliable. So when they secured Brando, it was, there was some strings attached to that. They had to bond him and make, kind of ensure that he would get there. So while we're on that, we'll just talk a little bit of alternate casting, just 2 main ones. Orson Welles really wanted the part of Don Corleone. Mm-hmm. So much to the thing, to the extent that he said he would lose weight.
Oh boy.
For the role. So he's going to put down the Paul Masson wine, and
it was a little more than wine.
Lose weight to get it. Another interesting thing, Burt Reynolds was offered the role of Michael Corleone. And he, once Brando found that out, he says, if you cast him, I'm out. Now, that's kind of strange because Burt Reynolds in 1972 wasn't the snickering Burt Reynolds. It wasn't Smokey and the Bandit Burt Reynolds. He was like Deliverance Burt Reynolds, right? Christy? I mean,
was it Michael or was it Sonny?
No, it was Michael.
Because I thought I actually read both. And then Burt Reynolds later in an interview said he was actually, which you can actually see, what's his name doing it as a skit on SNL, but he was kind of like, proud of himself that Marlon Brando gave a shit about him.
Yeah, I guess so. At the time, it might be.
It's kind of like, hey,
Marlon Brando doesn't want me on this film. That's a badge of honor. So he Brando threatened to quit, and then Burt Reynolds just declined. He said, "Okay, I'll just take the pass on it." Francis Ford Coppola initially refused to work on this project too. He just, about his perceived portrayal of Italian Americans in this. He didn't want it to kind of be that type of a film. And then he was kind of able to think about it, reapproach it from, a story of about family and about a rise to power, and not about like because they happen to be Italian and the stigma and that the mafia has. One other big thing, John Cazale. Does anybody know what record John Cazale keeps? Sean is nodding yes. What is a record that John Cazale has that no one will ever break? Go ahead, Sean.
Every film he was in was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah. John Cazale only made 5 films, and every film he was in was nominated for Best Picture. He was in The Godfather. He was in The Conversation. He was in Godfather 2. He was in Dog Day Afternoon, and he was in The Deer Hunter. He made 5 films, and each one was nominated for Best Picture. And what, Golden 2 of those won, or 3 of them won? Christy, that's an amazing record.
He probably has the most impressive IMDb resume, and it's unfortunate because he only made 5 films because of his illness and his death. But what would he have done? He was just a really good actor, So
yeah, and he had the most thankless role in this film as well. But that's what makes him such a good actor too. Is like the guys that have these kind of conflicted roles or kind of, it's like, he's not the greatest guy and he's not even well liked within his family, not even well regarded, so there's a lot of conflict in there. And so I forgot what actor said it about him, but I think it was the guy that directed Dog Day Afternoon. He's like, John Cazale's face, you could just see there's like a sadness there. It's just like built into the man. I don't know what he was bringing out, but he just had this look about him. Famously dating Meryl Streep, and Meryl Streep stayed by his side while he battled lung cancer, would not leave his side, was
I think they were engaged.
To him. Yeah. And she worked up with, on The Deer Hunter as well, devoted to him. And then he tragically passed away in 1978. So, all right, let's get down to this. Let's get down to brass tacks now. It's time to talk about this film. It's, far and wide, one of the greatest films, one of the most influential films, kind of safe to say. I know there were gangster films before this. Nick, did this one kind of set the, kind of reset all the stats for I'll use it in air quotes, for quote unquote gangster films? I hate to use that word, but
yeah, there were gangster films before Godfather, and then there's gangster films after Godfather. I think it's the benchmark where, it's been parodied so many times. And I think think of any great gangster movie afterwards, and it owes a debt to, The Godfather. Then I'd say later on, The Sopranos had a big influence as well. But I'd say, for sure, it just set the benchmark. And I think Francis Ford Coppola wanting to make something that's not that stereotypical Italian mafia kind of, and I think they didn't mention the word mafia. I think they kind of said
they couldn't
take that word out.
The mafia said take the word out. Otherwise, we're going to try and the mafia said
it was also
take it out. Otherwise, we're going to. And they were boycotting it. And Frank Sinatra was involved with that too. He's like, don't make this movie. And then they kind of said, I think it was only in the screenplay once, but take that out, and that appeased them. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
I think what you're saying is that this movie kind of replanted the flag, because you certainly had the Scarface from 1930 whatever with Paul Muni. You had Edward G. Robinson. You had Bogart. Yeah, you had Cagney, right, Eric? I mean, you had all those type of gangster films.
Yeah.
This kind of brought something. This kind of is basically a reimagining. Can we call it that as well? And kind of resetting the board.
Well, you said it. You said it before when he was focusing on the fact that it's about a family. He wanted to kind of, he had the idea of saying, "Oh, it's a family. It's also a metaphor for capitalism in America, a family." And so much of that emphasis, they leaned into that family aspect of it, that it doesn't really, the violence of the movie, all the gangster pictures prior to this were sort of rapid fire, fast paced. There was a lot of violence. There was, that kind of like grit, and this just took its time and It kind of, breathes, and it just, you really got to know the characters throughout. And that was fresh. I don't think that had ever been done, in the genre before. So it kind of it kind of set a new standard for sure. There wouldn't be things like The Sopranos with, if it weren't for Godfather,
Yeah. I mean, Sean, take it from the first half hour of the movie is essentially the wedding. Is the first half hour doesn't even take place in a day. It takes place within a very short span of time. But it's at let's go back to the very first scene of the film. Is that the Undertaker is there to see Don Corleone. We'll get into the cast, but since we're on this track. There's an Undertaker there to see Don Corleone. He needs a favor, right? And what is the crux, Sean? What's the crux of that conversation? Why is Don Corleone a little annoyed that the guy's coming to him?
Well, he's offended because I thought you were my friend.
Exactly.
Are you just coming to me because I'm a Don, or are we friends? Do we have a relationship? And it's about relationships. But there is a give and take in the relationship, and the Godfather's going to do for you, and then there's going to come a day where you're going to have to return that favor. And on the wedding day, supposedly nobody can be refused on the day of his daughter's wedding. And it's you insult me like as if I thought we were friends, and I like that whole exchange. And he said, "I'll do what you ask, but just remember that you're going to owe me one." And of course, we know he cashes in.
Yeah, Nick.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, it starts off with that brilliant just close up of the face as the Undertaker's telling this monologue, this story about his daughter's been hurt. But it's that juxtaposition between the wedding taking place and here's this Don who's listening to all the people come to like kiss his finger and the ring and ask for a favor. But it shows the morality almost of like. How he has to kind of give a favor, but also how, he says, you don't even call me Godfather. Like he's Godfather to everybody. Right. And now the term Godfather has come to represent almost this kind of mafia Don. Right. But it really was used by Mario Puzo in this story, to kind of show just how the culture, is part of that. Christy, you want to say something too?
No, just because we're talking about the opening, the way it's shot, like where you open on the black screen and then the music comes up, even before we get to the Undertaker, it's as epic as Star Wars, right? Mm-hmm. Like when Star Wars opens and you start seeing the words and that music, like when you hear that music, like it is chilling, and it doesn't matter how many times you see the movie. And then to open on that, like what we're talking about, that scene with the Undertaker and him, clearly disrespecting the Don on the day of his daughter's wedding, knowing that he can't, Sicilian tradition, you can't refuse on the day of your daughter's wedding, is just, it was supposed to originally open on just the wedding. And then someone had suggested to him, I don't remember what film it was. I don't know if anyone else does. He had another film he had done, and they said, that was so interesting the way you opened that film. Like, why wouldn't you do something similar? And so he changed it. It was supposed to just open on the wedding scene. And I'm glad that he did change it. Because I do, and I like the juxtaposition between the two. Because you have someone who does it wrong, followed by someone who does it right, asking for the favor. And it's clear.
Yeah, Nick, I mean, he and the part about you didn't call me Godfather is because he literally was the Godfather to that guy's son. So it's not also just, I read that as not because you're calling me Godfather in the mafia vein. I was reading it as, you didn't even call me Godfather because I'm actually the godfather to your son. Like we have a closer connection because you never invite me over for dinner. We never did this. You never did anything. And now you're walking in here for something.
And it does so much world building. Like it's just,
yeah.
He just like, there's so much levels of disrespect. He's like, you went to the police first. You went, why didn't you come to me first? If you had, if you just invited me over for some coffee once in a while, we would have done it,
Little Entenmann's.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Eric?
No, I find it interesting that when he says, he goes, why didn't you come to me? You're not a friend to me. And he says, I didn't want to get in trouble. I think that's the line. That's like, he didn't want to be a part of this business that he was in. Perhaps he, knew what he really did. And, the sort of the violence that goes with that and, all that. I just wanted to comment on just like Christy was saying, the opening shot is like the lighting in that scene is just absolutely brilliant. The black of how even the guy's face is just half lit, and it's just so, it's such a compelling shot just to draw you in and just be like, he's talking about, I believe in America, but it's such a dark story that he's telling about his daughter, that they kept it dark and they kept it, so it just lends to such the tension in the opening shot is palpable.
Yeah, so, Christy, before I get to you, and the camera slowly backs away. So all we see is this guy telling a story about his daughter, and we don't know who he's telling it to. Is he in a police station? Is he in a confessional booth with a priest? We don't know, and it slowly backs away until we're behind Brando's shoulder, and he's kind of got his like a finger on his on his face, and he's kind of listening to everything and not saying anything, and he's still and that guy's still just talking, Christy.
What's his name? Gordon Willis.
Willis. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's how he got the name Prince of Darkness, because he didn't light the sets. And that's why this film is so dark, but it works so well. To your point, Eric, it's like it really, you wouldn't think so much, but it really pulls you in that darkness into that moment. And then
it sets the tone, and I think,
and the way camera pulls away, and then just having Brando sitting there, and it's just, it's such a, we were mentioning it earlier. There was so much consideration when making this film. Like there were so many little decisions made, and it was so carefully made. The way they handled the family, the way they handled the mafia. It was just, it's a masterpiece of a movie. It really is.
Mm-hmm. And then the mortician is asking for justice that the police didn't get, and he wants him to kill this guy. And it's revealing when the Godfather's like, that's not justice. Your daughter's still alive. So you kind of there, you're seeing, even though these are killers, these are like, but they draw a line, And then when he walks out, he tells his son, he's like, despite what he thinks, we're not murderers, right? But then you see later, they are.
Well, no, you make a good point. I mean, Sean, there's a morality there, though, right? Like he said, like he wants the father, the Undertaker wants revenge. He doesn't want justice. He wants revenge. And the great thing about Brando's character is that he's very insightful, and he knows how to listen. Basically, listen to people and kind of understand, and then kind of dispense that wisdom, right? I mean, that's kind of like Corleone's, I think, strongest thing. He reminds me almost of like Odin in Thor, like the MCU. Like he kind of has all this wisdom, and he takes everything in and then uses it.
Well, there's a reason why he's the Godfather and he's the Don, because he has restraint, he has a code, there is a method to everything, and he's going to handle it. After he assesses the entire situation, he's had experiences and he's seen people fail. I'm sure he has, and you see it in his children. Sonny, the son, is like if he had went to Sonny and Sonny was Don, all right, we'll kill him. Take care of it. Boom, boom. But the Don is calculated and he is careful. He's cautious. He's wise. That's why he's there. That's why he has the position that he has. So, he's
measured is the word that comes to mind. Very measured in his responses. Like doesn't react out of. And he said, don't this is and that comes up that notion comes up in the film a lot. This is business. It's not personal, right? Mm-hmm. These are business decisions. So we need to make them that way. And that's where. And let's run through some of the cast real quick, so then we can start talking about Sonny and Michael and Fredo and some of these other ones, because they are different components and important components of the family dynamic. Just one last thing though, before we get to the cast, I found it very interesting that the Don's office is in his house, And like they open, like, I think there was in the beginning, like they kind of opened the door and you could see all this hustle and bustle, people in the kitchen. But then when they close the door, it's like almost like a separate thing. It gets quiet. It gets like deadly quiet. Like you said, the lighting is different, has a different feel from like the rest of the house and what's going on there. It's like, this is like a solemn area where this business is conducted. It's not like in his kitchen, on his kitchen table. He's got like a beautiful desk and an office and people come in. So I just thought it was really, really interesting. So let's roll through the cast just for, if you've never seen this film, I don't know what's wrong with you, but we'll roll through the cast. What's Sean? What's the matter?
When are we going to have the reveal here?
Big elephant in the room.
What reveal?
I'm not saying a word.
Dean, when did you first see The Godfather?
This film before,
Dean, when did you see The Godfather?
I think they know.
What? What's that?
When did you see The Godfather?
I feel like we've addressed this in other We might have addressed this.
We have. We
definitely have.
Okay, so we'll dispense with this so we won't hold everybody hostage. The big reveal is, I've never seen this film. I thought I did. I remember, and in watching it, I remember certain scenes, but I've never gone on YouTube and watched clips of this film. I don't seek it out. But I do remember certain things. But then there's a lot of this that I don't recall, and I think if I saw this film, I would have remembered a lot of it. So I did not see this film. I saw this film as of the recording of this about 4 or 5 hours ago. I watched it in its entirety. You know what? This ain't going to be one of my favorite episodes.
I absolutely envy you. I really do, because
you didn't love it?
This movie just gets better with time, with age.
Oh my God!
But Dean, you seeing it for the first time with fresh eyes that's awesome.
Yeah, you didn't love it, Eric.
No, that was a joke. The main we're going to get to the cast, but the main question I came away with is this a Christmas movie?
Come on.
If Die Hard is a Christmas movie, then this has to be a Christmas movie too, because there's a whole Christmas thing in there, right?
No.
They're going I don't know
about that.
Tom Hayden's going shopping, and Michael's going shopping, and
Christmas
it's not
gifts.
Christmas. It's as Christmas as Lethal Weapon and Die Hard.
It
belongs in the pantheon
of
Christmas. That's what I took away from it.
The movie inspires drinking wine. That's what it inspires.
And eating.
And eating.
Yeah,
all right, so let's get into this is a big cast. We're not going to go through everybody. Marlon Brando is Vito Corleone, obviously. Al Pacino is Michael Corleone, Vito's youngest son. James Caan is Sonny Santino Corleone, who's Vito's eldest son.
Nope. No.
Yeah. Fredo.
No.
Yeah. It says Vito. He's
not
his eldest.
Fredo's not the oldest. Part 2.
Sonny is the oldest.
Yeah,
no,
Sonny's
Fredo is the oldest, because isn't Sonny on the carpet in Godfather Part 2 when Fredo's sick?
Well, let's just leave it with how we have it here for now. Richard Castellano, who I liked as Clemenza.
I love Clemenza.
I love Clemenza's just a great character. Robert Duvall is Tom Hagen. Robert Duvall in the beginning of this film did a lot of smirking and smiling. Like, he seemed very happy to be the consigliere. Like, he kind of had like this youthful kind of like, and as the movie went on, he kind of, got a little more serious. Let's see, who else? Diane Keaton as Kay. Abe Vigoda as Tessio, who's kind of like the counterpart to Clemenza. They're kind of like the two lower guys, like the two guys next in line. Let's see, Talia Shire. This is where the nepotism began. Is Coppola putting his sister Talia Shire into the mix as Connie Corleone. John Cazale as Fredo, Vito's middle son. Al Martino is Johnny Fontaine. He's kind of loosely or supposedly based on Sinatra. Sinatra said to Al Martino, "If you take this role, you'll never play Vegas again."
Yeah.
Lenny Montana. Lenny Montana is really not in the film a lot, but his character seems to be talked about forever as Luca Brasi.
Luca Brasi.
Fantastic.
Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes. Let's see. Alex Rocco as Mo Green.
Yeah.
Those are the main players. You got
and Sophia. She makes her cameo in this movie. She's a baby. She's the infant at the end of the film.
She's like 3 weeks old or something.
Yeah. Yep.
And then actually, Gianni Russo. I think we need to talk about Carlo.
Oh
Carlo
boy!
Rizzi.
Has anybody watched his YouTube stuff? Oh boy!
No, but
that's a great character. That's a good character.
Yeah, Carlo is Connie's husband. So there's your cast.
And then
I
Apollonia.
want to dive in. Let's go.
Yeah. So
much to talk about.
Yeah, and there's a family dynamic there. We Sonny is kind of the heir apparent. He's going to take over, even though he is not in the mold of his father. Like
totally
Nick said,
not.
He is very hot-headed, very action-oriented, very reactive, right? Fredo, who's the middle son or the older son, according to Christy.
I researched it. Apparently, I'm wrong, but in Godfather 2,
wow,
I really feel like I gotta watch Godfather 2.
For season 4, we're going to unveil the Christy is wrong bell.
But after Godfather 2, that's all I'm saying.
Okay. So Fredo is the middle son, but not very intelligent, right? Doesn't seem to have the in it to kind of run the business. There's that one scene too when Brando comes home from the hospital and Fredo goes in to see him, and Brando doesn't even acknowledge him, doesn't even look at him. He always asks, when he's talking to Sonny, he's always like, "Where's Michael?" Right? And Sonny's like, "Oh, Christ," he always asking for Michael. And then Fredo just didn't even get when he went into the room, wasn't even acknowledged by him, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like the kind of character who's maybe through no fault of his own. I don't think he tries to be the goofball that he is. He's just incompetent. And the fact that he was there, substituting for the bodyguard when the Don gets shot, I think that's the pivotal moment. I think if anybody else might have been there, they might have been able to, shoot back or do something. And there's that moment where, Don Vito is lying on the ground and you see Fredo standing there bursting into tears. And, and I think he blames himself because he knows he doesn't even know how to use a gun or anything, and then he goes to they ship him off to Vegas. And even that, he blows up that meeting with Mo Green, so he's just totally incompetent. And that leads to, Godfather 2, which we won't spoil, but he's a great character.
Christy?
Yeah, Nick, I think he's so Sonny's the hothead, obviously. He's the reactionary one. And then Michael is kind of like his dad, where he's
totally
he's measured, as Dean said, which is a perfect description. He thinks things through, even when he's just getting into it. He talks about the meeting, Salazzo and the restaurant and everything. And then Fredo, he's just this emotional wreck. When he's standing over his father, you feel so bad for him. He doesn't know what to do after he gets shot.
Yeah, he doesn't even call for help.
He doesn't know what
he's just sobbing. He's
frozen because he's just all emotion. And we're not going to ruin talk about 2, but I'm smart. And
he may very well be. I mean, he obviously, he knew how to run, casinos and stuff. He got into the business, and he even owned a brothel, and 2, and so he has some savvy and some smarts, but he's just weak. He doesn't have
weak. That's probably a really good. He's not
gumption to.
He's not stupid.
He's not forceful.
He's weak.
He's not cut out for the business that the guys that are leaders going to do, right, Nick?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you see the comparison. You mentioned Sonny and Fredo. It's like the two opposites, because Sonny makes mistakes at meetings too. He it never would have led to that, assassination attempt if Sonny hadn't kind of, spoke, because then they're like, oh, look, if we got the Don out of the picture, Sonny's going to be more into jumping into the narcotics business, so the mistakes that are made. And then you see the comparison, with Fredo in the Vegas meeting, so it's those two, the yin and the yang, so, and then Michael is just this guy that was never supposed to be in the family business, right? He was supposed to become the next governor, the next senator, and yet it's drawn. And then I love that scene when after the hospital, right, when he comes out and the baker, his hands shaking trying to light, and then you see
down.
how cool and calm
that.
Michael's hand is. Like, it's almost, I think that's the moment when he's like, maybe I'm cut out for this. This is what I have to do,
Actually, Sean, I wrote that down too. I wrote hospital scene, Michael's rise, his hands didn't shake, right? Because that was like, and also one thing, Sean, before I kick it over to you, I wrote each one. I wrote Michael, Sonny, and Fredo. What I wrote is Fredo equals weakness, Sonny equals strength, Michael equals logic. Not necessarily, he's not as measured as his father, but he's much more logical, right? He's much more like almost like a tactician, like especially going back to the hospital scene, right? Because he kind of went there, understood what was going on, and understood what they had to do. He's like, people are coming to kill my father. We need to get this bed out of here. So he kind of like almost from maybe from being in the war, Sean, you think like they didn't really say what he did. They called everybody a war hero when they came home. So I don't know if he was actually a war hero, but it kind of lent itself to like that tactical, like more of a tactical thinker.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would say with Sonny, maybe muscle as opposed to strength. I think strength is Michael as well. I think Mike. I think the war changed Michael as well. I think he probably saw some things, and he definitely came back a little different, I guess. But I mean, you watch him become a killer, like in this, like his character, like, once he starts to, like that scene, like you said, there's a change, and he just becomes more and more cold also. Like he's cold. His father wasn't cold. I feel like Michael's cold. Like he's on a lonely island by the,
Yeah. And
he's headed for a lonely place.
Yeah. And Christy, I think that's because of a couple of things that he does and then a couple of things that happen to him, right? He does his, there's the hospital scene, he does his first killing, but then he almost finds happiness in Sicily. Right. And then his wife gets killed. So I think that's another layer.
Yes,
and that's
sure.
I think that's where the coldness came in, because he came back very like shut off. Right. Is that kind of,
yes.
Yeah. Like Sean said, is like you watch this transition. Like when you first meet Michael, he's smiling a lot, and he's, even though he just came back from war, there's an innocence to him. Like for me, a big thing is, and I wrote it down, what Nick brought up was, and that you also wrote down, Dean, is the hospital scene when he comes out with Enzo the baker. By the way, I think we should all start going back to our name and our occupation. Enzo the baker. Dean, the podcast.
It makes it easy.
Yeah, just makes it easy.
The mortician. Yeah.
No one has to guess what you do. It's just you identify with your occupation. But another big scene, which I also wrote down, is his eyes in the when he comes out of the bathroom, and Salazzo's talking to him in Italian, and he's not even listening anymore.
Yeah.
He knows what he's about to do, and there's no coming back from that. And it's his eyes going back and forth, like just that these little moments in the film and the transition, and then to Italy, and then when he comes back. He is now the new Don. He's cold to Kay. He's like, yeah, I just thought, I've been back a year, but now I'm coming to get you. And we should get married and have kids. Like, what?
Yeah.
So, but Nick, I mean,
exactly what you said. It's like that scene in the restaurant when he's going to, they think he's not in the family. So that's why they want to meet with him, because they think he's going to be the rational one. And he volunteers. He's like, I'll be the one to pull the trigger, So I wonder if he's ever killed anybody in the war. I'm thinking that's the first time he's ever killed anybody, because, he knows if I kill this, I'm there's no turning back. Right.
I
so
think
like
that.
When he goes there, he's like thinking, and they're talking with the cop and everything, the guy who broke his jaw, and but then when he goes to get the gun and comes back, it's that scene, Christy, you're right, where he's just like, you see his eyes darting back and forth. It's so much
great
acting with just the face, because he's
so
like, am I going to do it? You wonder if he's even going to do it. Maybe he'll give up and just be like, okay, but he does it. And you see, everything that goes after that. But
nothing will be the same after that. Nothing.
Right.
Kay's gone. The life he thought he was going to have, everything's over. Right, Sean?
Yeah, and he doesn't follow the instructions in that scene. He was supposed to come.
Drop the gun, and walk away.
He's supposed to come out shooting. He sits down, and you're like, "What do you? You were supposed to shoot. You were supposed to be shooting." He sits down. He's still listening and listening, and you're like, "But you." Even though how many times I watch it, like I'm like, "When is he getting up? When is he getting up?" Like, oh, and then he just gets up and boom, boom, and he only hits Soloso once. He hits the cop twice. He doesn't quite drop the gun right away. Like,
where am I going?
He lingers.
And I think that's perfect. I think that's great.
Perfect.
Yeah, and to that point, and to the point about Pacino acting with his eyes, maybe that might be the reason why he didn't get up right away. He might have still been. You could almost see him rolling through in his mind, right, Eric? Like almost like he was going through all the different angles to make sure, like almost like, I'm not just going to go and bang bang. He's like, kind of, because you could tell he wasn't listening, he wasn't hearing what was being said. He was internally kind of. The gears were going. So maybe at that point he was kind of thinking, okay, well, I want to make sure that, what I'm exactly going to do and make sure that there's nothing missing, no angles are missing, right? I kind of got that's what's kind of going on in his head. Why he didn't do it right away. He's kind of like getting himself ready to do it.
I think so. There's a measure of fear. I think there was a measure of all of these things were probably hitting him all at once. I mean, it's just the part of the scene of the tension of it and just the building, but the thing that bothers me about that scene is like they frisk him in the car. They frisk him like before he goes to the bathroom. He comes back from the bathroom, and that's when they don't frisk him. You would think that
they're not thinking because they did the turnaround. They're really not. I mean,
no, I know, but it's their obviously it's their mistake. They're not very bright in that sense.
How does McCluskey get his veal so quickly, and why is he's eating?
He's the only one eating.
He's sitting there chomping away, and they're talking Italian, and they're like, "You gotta go."
To Dean's point, though, I think there's a lot going on. He's all this stuff is hitting him at once. He's thinking about his father. He's thinking about, if I do this, it's this. I'm in it.
There's no turning back.
There's no turning back, and and he says to his father, and he goes, "I'm with you, Pop." When he's in the hospital, I mean, he knew it then, but now it's like the real deal, and it's and when he comes back, I think it was I had read or heard or saw something with Steven Spielberg. He said he commented on the time jump when he comes back from Italy, and when he that. When you see him like standing in front of Kay and he's, you could see the look on his face, that such time has passed. This, you could almost swear that this is a shot from Godfather 2. They're already like filming scenes because he looks like the Michael from the second film at this point. He's a little bit older. He's more, determined. And, it's interesting to note that he goes, "I need you." He keeps saying, "I need you." And he doesn't say he loves her.
Yeah.
That's secondary. It's like, I'm just here to I need children. I need to carry on the family. And that's just so, you talk about cold. That is, as cold as it gets, but yeah. So.
No, and I love the first time you see Kay at the wedding, and when he drags her into the family picture, Italian families, and Albanian on my side too. It's like, you're not going to be in a wedding picture with the family unless you're going to be part of that family forever. And you see Kay's kind of like, no. And he's like, no, come on. And you can almost see, Don Corleone kind of looking like,
he's not,
is she Italian? I don't know what's going on here, but then he falls in love. I really think he was in love with Apollonia, or at least, at first it was lust, And then when that car blows up, like you said, it's a brutal scene, and you see her leg, and it's just like, it changed him too. Like, if you think, he was hard, the war maybe made him hard, and then what he did in that restaurant made him hard. That too was like, he was right there. I think any semblance of what might have been like the innocence that he might have had, that was it. It was gone. Like, he was in it all the way from that moment. And then when he comes back, like you say, he has it. He's like, I need children. I need to carry on the legacy. I think that's why he's with, maybe there's still that semblance of love that he had before he went to Italy, but it's not the same. I don't think
he's not the same.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's not the same happy-go-lucky guy going shopping and doing all this stuff. And especially in that interim, also his brother Sonny gets killed, right? So there's another piece that's torn from him, because he was always going to be detached from this, and that was the whole thing. Was you're the college, Sonny. We used to say, what are you going to shoot? You're not going to shoot him from a mile away, right? He goes, when you kill these guys, you're going to be right up front with them. So he was kind of. Sonny was trying to impart onto him the real. This is for real. This isn't like playing war and you're shooting off your rifle.
That's a great point.
Like
great point.
Up close and personal and bloody. You're going to get blood all over you. So, I think Michael was okay with even if he didn't agree with Sonny. I think he was okay with letting those things play out. And if someone asked his opinion, he would give it. But now, I think because he started to do that a little bit. Once, I wrote down a lot of the movie was spent of everyone figuring out what to do as a group. Like once Brando got shot, everybody was just kind of like, everybody had an opinion about everything. Like Duvall, Tom Hagen had an opinion about how to do it this way. Sonny had an opinion. Clemenza, everybody had all these different opinions, and it was like kind of like organized chaos. Like everyone was figuring out what the best move was, and then all of a sudden Michael speaks up. He's sitting in the chair. He's like, I'll go to the meeting, and we do. I need a gun. We need to find, get your informers, find out where it's going to be. You need to get me a gun. We need, like, all of a sudden his tactical savvy that he might have gained all of a sudden that tactician part comes out. This wasn't about being like as jovial and as personable as his father is. His father's very personable, even though he does really bad things. He's a guy that you feel like you can, like, just like when they have the meeting, is like, anybody ever asked for anything you needed the politicians. I only ever said no once, kind of like that. I'll work with you kind of guy. And Michael isn't that. He's not that type of a thing too. He's, I think with all the damage he suffered, he's wants a little bit more of a share. Right, Christy?
Yeah. Just to go back to what Nick was saying, when he comes back and he says to Kay, I need you. Like, he doesn't say, I love you. When he's in the house and Clemenza's, cooking and he won't say, I love you on the phone. Yeah. Now, is that because he's surrounded by a bunch of guys?
I thought he was embarrassed. Yeah.
Is it embarrassment, or because he gets so off and Clemenza's like, why don't you tell that girl you love her?
Yeah, they all know what's going on.
And he's an adult. It's not like he's a 12-year-old kid who can't say, I love you on the other end of the phone. And it's, I know we're not going to talk about Godfather 2, but it's important to understand. And if you've seen Godfather 2, you understand why Vito is the way he is. And Michael just didn't have that. Vito's off the boat. He had to make a life for himself. And when he starts out doing what he's doing, that becomes this family business. That's what he does. He takes care of people. And so he has this empathy, and Michael didn't have to have that. Like, it's kind of like when you're born into money, right? When you start poor and you make all this money, and then you have kids and they just have money. Like, they don't know what is, they don't
realize the value.
Yeah, they don't realize the value of it. And I don't think Michael ever got that, because he never had to be hungry for it. It was given it to him on a plate.
Christy makes a great assessment there, Dean, because, everything that you were saying about Vito and the difference between him and Michael, it becomes clear in the second film. Not to give anything away, but everything is put into perspective, and it only builds upon, makes the first one even greater.
Yeah.
And the entire thing is just brilliant. Yeah.
One question about the second film. In the second film, does Vito say to Michael, I am your father?
He might as well.
Join me.
There's a lot of comparisons there.
Join me, and together we can rule the family. No? I feel like I saw that somewhere. That's not Godfather 2? It's not. All right. I thought I saw it. I don't know. I thought I got to have it confused.
I want to say one thing about Godfather 2 without spoiling anything.
Why is everybody talking about Godfather 2?
Because they go together. They go together, right? And so many people say, which was better, Godfather 1 or Godfather 2? I still say, like Eric said, the more I watch Godfather 1, especially after watching Godfather 2, which adds so much more, I love Godfather Part 1. It's my favorite. But But the greatest scene in the whole saga is in Godfather 2. I won't say which one it is.
No.
But after you see it, we'll talk. The greatest scene in the whole saga is Godfather.
Season 5.
We'll talk about it. That's all I got to say.
So, Sean, let's talk a little bit about Sonny. We haven't talked about James Caan that much. Just the kind of he became the prototype for the maniacal gangster guy, right? Like super short fuse. Especially when it comes to Carlo and anything with his sisters, like, when they're at the table and Carlo's like, shut the fuck up or whatever to Connie. He's like, hey, don't tell my sister to shut up. And then Sonny's mother's like, keep out of it. like that's, he wants to tell him to shut up. That's their business, but Sean, Sonny's
that's
like
real.
Wait,
that's when you know it's real. That's a real family talk.
Before
they don't even need to be acting. Yeah, sorry.
He's talking about business, and then
we
his
don't talk about
sister's
business
like,
at the
Dad never talked about business at the table, and then Carlos starts saying, I want to talk to you and
talk about
Tom,
business.
and then Sonny's like, we don't talk about business at the table.
Yeah.
I mean,
James Carlos trying to
great writing.
James,
I have to. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dean.
Go ahead.
I have to say one thing about Sonny while we're talking about him is that is he that smart either? I mean, I don't think he is. I mean, he just lets his temper get the better.
He's reactionary.
He's reactionary. He is the whole time. He's just all he cares about is fighting back, getting back at them, and it's just and that's
having sex with some of the bridesmaids.
He's not thinking about family. He's thinking about himself. I think he's very selfish, and that's I think I don't know.
Let me put it to Sean. I think Sonny does know. He just doesn't know the nuances, right? He knows the outline of the business. He knows that decisions have to be made and things have to be done, but he doesn't have the nuance that Michael and his father have, right? I think that's what's missing from him is he's got the wherewithal to do the job. He's got no problem with it, right?
Sonny loves his family. He would do anything for his family, with the family. And I think he's street smart, not necessarily business. Like, he doesn't have the business acumen that his father has, and he's definitely not his brother. Not cool and collected like his brother. So he's one of my favorite characters, though. I love his I love his interactions and like, come here. Like always smash the camera, starts throwing the money down. Like, yeah, there you go. And take to the library, And then like with Carlo, I love when Carlo's in the orange suit. The fact that he's in the orange suit is the whole thing. Like, there he is with his friend, and he goes and kicks the crap out of him. Laid in the
he destroys him in that scene. He gets him into that little garbage area. It's almost like a boxing ring. Like he got him like trapped in in the ring, and was just like it was almost like a boxer pummeling his opponent because he couldn't get out because Carlo couldn't get out of that area.
And it was almost And anybody who's going to be a Don, like I don't know if that's what you want to portray. Like this hothead, like he's definitely like if he takes over the family, I think it would have been the end of the family.
It started going that way, right?
Yeah. And Tom Hagen is always he's trying to warn him. You keep doing what you're doing, Sonny. We don't need a war right now. We're trying to, And he's like, but you're not a wartime, and he's, it's just, but yeah, I mean, he's just not thinking. He's reactionary. It almost was the downfall, but was downfall of him for sure. But I mean, damn, but he's great. Right.
The one thing that I guess Sonny was right about, he said, you're not a wartime consigliere. Michael says the same thing. Michael says the same thing when he lets him go.
He goes, you're out, you're out. You're out,
Tom. So I guess he was right about one thing.
Yeah, Christy.
So a couple of things. One is Vito says to Michael that he didn't think Sonny was a good Don.
Right.
When Michael takes over, he says that. Says, I love my son. God bless him. I never wanted anything to happen to him. He's no disrespect, but he wasn't a good Don. Are we going to talk about Carlo?
Yeah, we're going to get there after Nick.
Because we have like who.
All right, we'll get there after Nick.
What kind of moron.
Hold it.
Yeah. No, I guess to put a cap on the Sonny discussion, I think, he's hot-headed, he's viral. Christy mentioned, he's humping, bridesmaids at the wedding while his wife is down there, So and everybody knows, and they're looking the other way. But like I guess how I would sum it up is like he has no discipline. Like he's hot-headed and he'll just jump, and I think that's the thing. Like, yeah, he's strong. He's got some instincts, but he can't hold back, like whatever, Fredo does just out of stupidity or just, he does out of like, I just can't control it. Like, I got to go, it's like, he knows better. He knows he should have waited before hopping in the car and going through the turnstile. Right. He gets shot, like he just hot-headed and goes and does it. So,
well, since you brought that up, I think it's
mixed with entitlement.
I don't really think it's reactionary. I think it's whatever.
He doesn't think consequences.
Whatever the first idea
he won't
comes.
Think about consequences.
Is that entitlement because of who he is? Do you think there's any entitlement to that because of who his father is?
I just think it's the first idea that comes to his head is what he runs with, like almost
and
like
he's emotional. He's
like that. Like that's the thing. It's like whatever his first notion and emotion is how, which leads to the scene with Connie when she's pregnant and Carlo like beats the crap out of her. And he makes that fit like when he's, she calls and her mother picks up and she's like, I can't hear the baby. She's holding the baby and the baby's crying. She goes, I can't, Sonny, talk to her. I can't hear. And he's like, hey, Connie, what's up? And then he's like, he couldn't hear. And then you see his face change. And then he's like, he makes that, he did it a couple other times. He's like, he makes a face like, doesn't
he bite his fist?
Like he can't, when they're fighting, he bites him. Yeah. And then,
doesn't he bite his hand? He's like so mad.
He does that the first time. Yeah. When he sees Connie with the black eye and
she looks. It's hard to watch that scene, man.
Oh my God,
it's brutal.
Because she's already like roughed up, and then but she's just out of control, Connie. Carlo had a point. He's like, yeah, go ahead, destroy the plate. Like, go ahead, do what you're gonna do. She's so dramatic.
An interesting fact: when she gets the phone call from Carlo's, I guess, girlfriend or whatever, that's her on the other line.
Really?
She's talking to herself. She did the voice on the phone. So she's actually talking to herself in that scene, which is kind of weird.
That is weird.
Go ahead, Nick.
And then the producers had wanted to add more action to the movie. So that scene where she's throwing all the dishes and destroying, that was added to appease some of the, but it worked. It was so great.
I'm Italian, and I'm going to tell you, Italian women, I've seen them throw their dishes. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. They break their own shit. But they just throw shit when they get angry.
The great thing about one of the great things about this film is as I was watching it, right? I was like, he gets the phone call about Connie, and he gets in the car and he leaves, right? And he gets killed. He gets killed at the turn, at the toll booth. And I'm watching, and I'm like, how did they know? How did they get in front of him? I was like, how did they know that he was going to be like, how do they know where he was going to be? And he had people following him. The brilliance of it comes into the end, that Carlo got a pass.
Yep.
Michael slow rolled the shit out of Carlo. Like I think for years, he slow rolled him for so many years, made him feel comfortable. And then exacted his revenge and then lied to Kay with a straight face. It's like, he's like, I'm gonna allow you to once. I'm gonna allow you to ask me about my business once. And she goes, "Did you do it?" He's like, "No."
Nope.
I love you.
Yeah, it's just
like wow. So like Eric, his face was like he was like no. He was like no, and she totally bought it.
Yeah, very deadpan. I mean, you could almost argue that whole scene was set up. I mean, it triggered something, and he beat her to a pulp, but he knew that Sonny was going to come after him. So do you think that was almost like a trap in a weird way? Not necessarily, but knowing that's what would happen, knowing that would trigger. Because he goes, "You touch my sister again, I'll kill." He knew that Sonny would, so he drew him out. I think that's what happened. Yeah, absolutely.
Christy.
Yeah.
And then Nick,
it's the only logical explanation because you are in no way that dumb of a fuck to take the Don's daughter and beat the shit out of her twice, have the brothers come, like, you're not that, you can't be that dumb. You can't be that dense of a human being.
Yeah.
So the only logical thing when we find out, like you said at the end, when we find out that he was approached at his wedding, so that's how long this is going on. So he thinks he's going to be dealing with this other family and have, he gets shut out. Like when he's sitting, when they go in, I forgot what part it was, but he's sitting in the hallway and she's like, "What's the matter?" He's like, "Oh, shut the fuck up," because he wasn't invited into the room. Like he's constantly, because Vito says from the beginning, no, he doesn't get involved in the close family stuff.
Yep.
Because Tom wanted to give him something important.
Yeah, he's like, give him a job, get him set up, but nothing, nothing
and
here.
So the only thing that makes sense is that he knows, he's telling them that he's going to beat the shit out of her. He's going to take pleasure in doing it because he doesn't love her. And then they're going to kill him because otherwise he's the dumbest person alive.
No.
Like you just
that whole scene makes that whole scene even more perverse and more shocking.
And how deep it really goes, right? Yeah. Like how absolute deep this goes.
And when you see
Nick, before I kick it over to you, how, Christy's like, how stupid can he be? You know how stupid he is? He wears an orange suit. That should tell you, right? To Sean's point, that should tell you, look at the way the guy was dressed. It was, tell the bookie this, and he's like, this number. Like he was like a little, he thought it was like a little mini Big Shot. Like,
do you know a funny story?
And then as soon as Sonny pulls up, he starts running, and Sonny threw like the bat at him.
He takes his shoe off. He takes Carlo's shoe off. He starts hitting him with his shoe.
Yeah, and he's biting his knuckle.
So did you know that Brando thought he was awful? So, what's his real name? Gianni? What's his first name?
Gianni Russo.
So he had mob connections, and so he went up to Brando and he like threatened him and said, "If you keep fucking with me," because Brando was like, "This guy's awful. I don't want to work." And Brando, maybe or maybe not, the rumor goes, thought that he was acting, and was like, "Oh, you're great." But he wasn't acting. He was actually threatening Marlon Brando.
Oh God!
And so, but Brando like hated him. He's like, "This guy's awful. Why is he on the film?"
Yeah,
well, he was all right. Nick, what do you got?
I mean, great arc with Carlo. I think everything. But you mentioned how Michael lies to Kay. The other lie that I think is almost as good is how he lies to Carlo. He's like, "Do you think I'd want to make my sister a widow and my nephew, who after the day of his baptism, make him an orphan?" And then it's a big shock when they whack him in the car. It's awesome. I love it.
But you know what? It makes perfect sense, Sean, right?
Makes total sense.
All those other murders were happening. He was cleaning house of everybody. So it makes sense that this guy, we find out that he was a part of it. So he's basically the last thread to tie up, or the last.
And I thought about that. What you said, the lying. I'm like, he's a liar. Like he lies. He will lie.
Very easy.
You don't get that from the Don. Like that he's I mean, he's not an honest guy, but there's an honor. There's like an honor code. Michael, this is a new world, and Michael, I think, is sensing that the world is changing and that he's got to change. Also, they do say it. They say that it's not the old days anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael's cold. He lies. And we won't. And two, you also, you see.
Yeah, oh my God!
Why are you talking about Godfather 2, Sean?
Yeah. Because they're almost like
interchangeable.
Right. At this point, they're so integrated.
No, and
please don't talk about Godfather 2.
No, just by the sense that the pivotal storyline, I guess, is that the Don doesn't want to get into narcotics.
Yeah.
And
which is
whereas Michael,
which is kind of respectable, right?
Of course, no, but you see that, but Michael is like, it's about the business, and that leads into what happens in the next movie and all that other stuff. And then, it's he's not his dad, even though in many ways he is like the mirror image of Marlon Brando's character. In so many ways, there is that darkness that I think, he's
Don
like Corleone
he's like
doesn't,
he's like the 2.0 version, right? He's kind of like no, he is. He's like his father, like the best parts of his father, and maybe the cruelty of Sonny, or the ability to kind of deal out that type of stuff, right? Because he set up that whole thing about they wiped everybody out in one day, the day of the the day of the baptism. Sean, over to you.
And nobody saw that coming, and that's a great. I mean, just juxtaposition of, do you denounce Satan? I do. And like,
Wow.
meanwhile, like everything is got, like going down. Each head of the family is being taken out.
Mhm.
And then, like, as soon as he gets that little whisper that it's done, he's, Carlo, you're gonna
We're not going to Vegas, Carlo.
They're gonna take a detour over to the house. I'll meet you there. But one thing I don't understand is Tessio is still like following through with the plan, but everybody's dead. I thought that, I'm like, he's like, all right, let's go. We got to get to the meeting. We got to get Michael. And how does Tessio not know at this point?
I think he kept them in the dark about it. He didn't know any of this. Like, he kept them, so he kept them close.
Yeah.
But even Tessio, who was, obviously one of his father's best friends,
right?
Again,
and a smart guy. I mean, Tessio's one of the smartest ones they had. He saw it coming, right?
He
saw
saw
that's
it
why
coming,
Michael said it was going to be Tessio. It was always going to be Tessio.
But the frustration is that Tessio wasn't getting what he thought he deserved.
He wanted his own. He
wanted his own, and Michael was like, no, whatever, and he, so that was kind of heartbreaking to see him.
Yeah, it was a sad scene at the end with Tessio. He's like, can you? He's like to Tom, can you get me off the hook on this one? And
yeah,
for one time's sake. Personal.
Tom's like, I can't do it. Yeah, he's like, I can't. Yeah. Like, very matter of factly, almost like he was just telling a client, like, I can't take you on. He's like, I can't do it.
But
even when he looks,
yeah, Sean.
No, even when he looks off in the window, he's like, I'm never going to see that guy again. Like, I caught it today. He just did that look off of like watching him get in the car. I was wow.
There's a running theme in here is even in that scene where he says, tell Mike it was never personal. I always liked him. And it comes up repeatedly in the film. Mm-hmm. It's nothing personal. It's business. And so Dean, at that point when Tom, it's not personal, he personally likes him, they are able
but he'll kill him.
They're able to detach. Like, I can't do that. Yeah. Like, I would never survive in them. Like, I can't detach. Like, if I personally like you, I can't watch you off and be like, well, he's going to get killed. All right, see ya. It's been fun. Good times.
That's the only way you're going to survive in this business. And that's why Brando's character was so great, because he was able to at least retain his sense of humanity. Like, Michael seems to have no sense of humanity afterwards, but Vito still was able to kind of understand that. And when they had that meeting with all the mob bosses,
great
right?
Scene,
and he stands up and he's like, listen, I've always been fair. We've always been fair with each other. We can figure this out, or kind of almost trying to appeal to the humanity. And like Eric said, that time is leaving. That time is leaving because everybody wants to get, they're looking at the narcotics business as money, and they're right. And Vito, Brando is looking at it as this is going to kill us, and then they make those half-assed rules. Well, no selling to kids, and no, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
See how long that lasts, right, Nick?
Yeah. And then, that scene also shows, I think, what Marlon Brando's character is like he's willing to put aside that his son is dead and got killed and be honorable. I totally believe he'd be like, I'm not going to hold a grudge and come back and do this 20 years later. He's like, but if something happens to my son when he comes back from Italy, if he gets struck by lightning, I'm going to hold you all responsible, and you totally believe that too. Whereas Michael would hold that grudge and will wait 20 years to get that vengeance. And Sonny would have been like, I'm not going to wait. I'll do it tomorrow. So it's like that distance, the discipline, but also the integrity, I think. So you see the differentiation in all these characters, and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Christy?
No, I was exactly what Nick said. The whole point of that meeting, Brando just buried his son, and he goes to the meeting and said, it's not personal. This is business now. And I'm not going to retaliate. And he lost a son. I lost a son. But I'm going to take it personal if my other son dies. Doesn't he bring up Fredo, by the way, in this meeting?
No, he never gets mentioned.
That's it.
No one gives it.
No one cares about Connie but Sonny.
Killing Fredo would be a favor. That's why no one tries to kill Fredo. It's like it would have no effect on anything.
But that meeting is a bit that is a like Nick said, really shows you the differences between who the Don Vito is and who the Don Michael is. But
Vito, but he's not but he's not stupid either.
No, that's how he knows who it is.
Well, consider the scene afterward. When he's in the car. He's like, it was Barsini all along.
He knows it was Barsini.
He knows. So
he's
who
not
knows
stupid.
what he, something could have escalated. Something, he's going to keep play it cool at this point. But he knows that I think at this point he's like, I'm out. Michael's coming in.
Yeah.
I know that he's going to take over. Yeah. And I think he knew that Michael's going to take care of business.
Well, he gave him that little tidbit, Sean, before I get to it. And that's one of the great scenes is when Pacino and Brando are sitting outside in the yard. And that's when Brando says, he goes, whoever comes to you first about the meeting, that's the traitor. So he's kind of giving him some of the playbook of this is how you kind of figure out who the rat is. It's like whoever wants to call for the meeting that's the person, So I like but before that, Brando was saying, "How's your family? How you doing?" So they were he was having those regular conversations with his son, and then we'll talk a little bit about business, and I'll give you some of those pointers. But it seems like Vito was kind of happy to. Kind of give that kind of stuff up, and he says I trust Michael fully with all the decisions and consider me kind of almost like an advisor at that point, right, Sean?
Yeah, and the Don, you don't ever hear about him having killed anybody. When they talk about the Johnny Fontaine, why how does your dad know him? And he's like, well, Luca Brasi said that. You got to get him out of the band leader contract. I'll give you $10,000. You get him out. Gave the guy an opportunity legitimately. Yeah. As a nice guy approached, guy said no. Then the next time he goes back and he says either your brains or your signature is going to be on the contract, one of the two. And they only gave him $1,000. So, and then the next instance we see is the Johnny Fontaine wanting to get the role in the movie. We haven't talked about this iconic scene right here.
Oh man,
yeah. And he doesn't kill the guy. First he goes, okay. He introduces himself. The guy kicks him out. Oh, I realized you're the Don. You related. Why didn't you tell me? And you think he's going to capitulate, and he doesn't. He's like, I'm not this guy. I hate this guy.
Great story.
The story. That scene is great. The whole scene.
Johnny Fontaine does not get that movie. You get the hell out of here.
Yeah. And Tom Hagen, the way he plays off of him is amazing. Just so straight. Well, I got to go. The Don insists on hearing bad news immediately. And the guy's like, wait, what? You're just going to leave? And then, of course, he wakes up. He's bloody. And it's not him that got it.
Yeah.
It's his $600,000 on 4 hoofs.
Khartoum.
Oh, God. And
Khartoum the horse.
And the horror. That's, it's like... But he basically said he doesn't want to kill anybody. Yeah, he'll kill your favorite horse.
Well, he wants to put
it's more intimidation. Yeah, he doesn't have to. It's the threat of what could happen.
And what could happen, right? And Michael,
and he never has to go there.
And Michael's just going there. Because I guess he also has to establish himself as capable.
Yeah,
but he's brutal. He's more.
Oh my God! Yes. Yeah.
He doesn't even give you a chance. It's just you're done. So
he's Anakin Skywalker is Michael Corleone. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. The comparisons are, I think it's obviously it's done on purpose. There's no.
Well, they're friends, right? Yeah. Lucas hung around in that circle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Actually, before I get to you, Nick, that one of the reasons why Coppola did this film is he was about $400,000 in debt because of THX 1138, which was George Lucas's quote unquote student film. Yeah. American Zoetrope, which was Coppola's film company distributed that, and they took a beating on it. Those guys are fast friends, and then he got like $125,000 plus a certain percentage of the royalties. He didn't want to do it initially, and it's like, yeah, okay, and because he needed the money to bail out American Zoetrope. So, over to Nick.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, again, Don Vito would probably respect people, and Michael holds these grudges. You see when that scene with Mo Green, I think as soon as he found out that Mo slaps his brother around, because he mentioned that a couple of times. He's like, you could just tell he has no respect for Mo Green. And he's like, you're done, in his eyes. So I think from that moment on, he was like, there's going to come a point when I'm going to kill you, So it's like, you're going to sell us, your casino and everything. And so it just, you see that in his eyes, as these cold killer's eyes, and it just not the same eyes from the beginning when you first see Michael,
happy-go-lucky and
yeah.
It was almost like it was like a joke, like this is what my father, this is the business that they're in, and they got to do that. He was kind of, it was very like, he was very kind of deflective about it, but not, but kind of like, oh yeah, it's my father, he's a businessman, and this is what they do, and blah blah blah. And it's kind of like,
not
okay,
me.
It was kind of like la-di-da, la-di-da.
This isn't me, Kay.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it is.
It is, Christy.
We don't ever get to see that Pacino anymore, and it's such a. First of all, doing that
his
film,
spirit is dead if there ever was one.
Right.
And there's the impression. We got an impression.
Like you,
Frank Slade.
What a phenomenal acting job, and here's someone he didn't really want to do it. He didn't like. He was kind of disenchanted with film, like, because it was nothing like theater. It's not a live like theater. Like it's like you do a take, you do it a couple of times, and they reset. And he was kind of like, this isn't really what I thought. Like I just like it took him a while to like really like film. I think him, Brando, and James Caan at some point all quit acting for like 5 or 7 years. After this movie, but you watch Pacino in this, and from the innocence to who he becomes, like Nick and I were talking about, the way he uses his eyes, the way what he does with his body, with his mannerisms. He's just, and then you see him in like Scent of a Woman, or you see him now or Devil's Advocate, or these later films, and you're just like,
or Heat. Yeah.
Nick, is Nick done?
Zing!
Is Nick done? Are we done with Nick?
Shades of season 2 have come back to haunt us.
You're
right. He wasn't.
Right.
He was absolutely something different, and he matured or transformed into something else. But we have two great, he's like one actor, but like almost two different actors, right? There's like a, probably like Bobby Deerfield or somewhere around there is when he kind of stopped, he became like the Scotch voiced Pacino, and not that mousy kind of, sounding Pacino. The thing about Michael, you said how he acts, he very much always slouches in chairs. He's always kind of leaning. Yeah. He never, even when he's at the desk, he's never like sitting up. He's always kind of like back and kind of leaning backwards, almost like a king on a throne. Mm-hmm. The way a king sits on a throne with their kind of their arms up, like he kind of sits like in that relaxed position, like that he's which could be you would think that was almost be submissive, but it's kind of almost like dominant. Like he doesn't feel he's got to worry about. Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about anything. He kind of asserts and gives off that vibe where all of a sudden, it's like this meek kid. But through the movie, we get to see those changes are genuine because we see the things that happen to him. We see, the time he spends in Sicily, and he kind of starts to soften and sees that there could be a life there for him, And then when Apollonia gets killed, that and Sonny and all the other stuff that that just kind of stews and boils in him. And then when he comes back, in the first scene with Kay, he's dressed in all black. He's wearing a black hat, black jacket, really kind of almost taking over the villain mantle, subliminally, because, he's like, oh, can we fix everything? And I noticed he like fixes his hat. I'm like, he's wearing all black in that scene, where he used to not dress that way. He used to dress kind of, just like a regular guy or just regular suits. But then all of a sudden he's assuming this kind of mantle, and he has a certain look about him. Where Sonny always looks like he just came back from a party. He's always got the suspenders on and the open collar shirt, like he should have been wearing a bow tie. He's like wearing tuxedo pants. It seems like he always just left a party, and that's kind of like his disheveled way of portraying is almost the way he acts. He acts very disheveled and very spontaneous. And the way his character dresses is that he always looks that way, in a lot of the scenes. So I think those wardrobe pieces are kind of glimpses into the character as well, especially for Michael as we see him change from wearing the military uniform, then to regular civilian clothes. But then he dons his cloak, his black, this black suit that he wears.
Well, Fredo does comment when they're in Vegas about, oh, the doctor did a great job with your face. Like, look at your face. Which, so there is some changes that have happened. What did they do to his face? And why did he have a black... Can we go back to Sicily for a second? How long does he have the black eye? Like, I don't understand.
For a long time. Well, they never say
he meets her, he gets married, she gets killed, there's a black eye. Like, I mean,
they never say how long it is. Yeah.
What is it, 2 hours?
I don't know. Nick?
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah. I got the sense that he had he got beaten. That punch knocked, he had his jaw broken.
Wired. Wired.
So I think it was.
Yeah, but the black eye?
It looked like, so maybe he had some damage to his eye or something like that, So I took it. There's certain things where you suspend disbelief, like the conciliary thing. Can I talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's, a lot of people say, well, that's Marlon Brando making a mistake. And it probably was. But I justify it because it's Tom Hagen that he's talking to. And Tom Hagen was not Italian. And I have a feeling that maybe Tom Hagen said consigliere. So, I think the Don is saying it to his, his son. Always jokes about him as like consigliere mine. So that's how I justify it.
Does Sonny say it when he's talking to Tom?
No, he says consigliere.
Does Sonny pronounce the G when he's talking to Tom?
I think the Don was the only one that pronounced the G, which makes no sense, because he's Italian, so he should say it the right way.
You know why it makes sense? Because the G was big on the cue card for Brando.
Very good.
Yeah, Duvall was wearing the cue card on his.
That's right. He had it taped.
That's right.
So,
boy, yeah. This is something amazing. I think I have a question as we wind down. We talked a lot about the impact and a lot of the stuff. I'm glad we didn't talk too much. The plot is kind of, there's three main pieces to it, but that's not really where the juice is. I think the juice is in the performance. But I think we need to boil this down to the final question of the show: is Godfather or Goodfellas? The eternal question. Some people are Elvis people, and some people are Beatles. Some people are pinball. Some people are video games.
Can I say something?
We'll go around.
No. Because you brought up Elvis. No, just because you brought up Elvis. Does anyone here know that he really tried hard to be Vito Corleone?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I heard that. I know
Ernest Borgnine came close to getting the part.
Yeah, he was up for it.
You talked about Orson Welles, but Ernest Borgnine.
There were a lot of.
It would have been a different movie. I'll tell you that.
And the studio wanted
Ryan O'Neal. Nicholson was offered a part.
No, they wanted Robert Redford.
A wasp. To be a waspy, but no, Elvis.
Jack Nicholson said the role needs to be played by an Italian. So I give him respect.
You have to
for that,
respect that, Yeah. But Elvis wanted to be the Don. Because he loved
that would have been interesting.
What's crazy?
Really good laugh at that one.
Brando is 47 years old.
So I'm older than him. Well, I'm same age as him. Same age as him. Wow.
47.
Best role of his career. He should.
So?
I wish he had not turned down that Oscar because he deserved it. I mean, he was fantastic.
Well, every scene won it. Just because he didn't accept it doesn't mean he still won it.
Right,
he was still awarded.
But I'm just like, I wish he would have been gracious enough to just say what. I'm not judging what his political thing was, but just I would have loved for him to be like, yes, this was a great role, and
better than On the Waterfront, Nick.
Close second. I mean, On Waterfront was a close second to this. This is his greatest performance, I think.
Really?
In my opinion. Yeah, I think this was it.
Because On the Waterfront's a really good movie.
Yeah.
It is a very good movie.
All right, well then, you know what?
What about The Freshman?
I like how he mocked his performance in The Freshman. That was a decent movie.
Okay, so let's go with Godfather or Goodfellas, Nick.
Definitely
Goodfellas was another planting of a flag.
Yeah,
and redefining the mob movie, the mob and the genre. Talk about a movie that's a polar opposite, very kinetic, very manic, right? But that's because of Scorsese's style.
Yeah.
So you're saying Godfather over Goodfellas?
I think when we did the Goodfellas movie, I said something like Goodfellas is my top 2 mobster movies or something like that. Godfather is probably my top movie of all time.
And we had you back on episodes after you said that?
Yeah. No, this is bad. This is way better than Goodfellas, in my opinion.
Wow, way better.
It's one of the best movies ever made. I watched this over and over again, and I'm like, I love it more every time. Beginning to end.
I gotta go to Sean then after this. Godfather or Goodfellas? We're not hearing anything. Are you mute?
I'm muted. Sorry. I
thought he was fucking with us.
I thought he was too. I said something so profound it'll never come back out of my mouth.
I thought that was a callback to before the show started. Go ahead.
I said no. I saw Goodfellas first. I saw neither one of these in the theater. I was obviously not born when this, but I saw Goodfellas first.
All right, youngster.
All right, well, and I saw Godfather after that, and I've grown to like Godfather better.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. All right, Christy.
I'm going to go 3 for 3 on that one.
Godfather. Wow, this is shocking.
You know, you have to look at The Godfather. It's a masterpiece, and I love Goodfellas. I'm not taking anything away from Goodfellas, but Godfather. If it weren't for Godfather, Goodfellas wouldn't have happened. I don't.
No, definitely.
And so, just Godfather has so many layers to it, and I'm not saying that Goodfellas doesn't have layers, but it's just. And one of my all-time favorite scenes in any film is in this movie. So
this episode
Godfather.
we won't do favorite scenes. So
you're such a dick.
Eric, are we going 4 for 4 or what? I'm not sure where this is going to go.
Come on, Eric.
I'm not sure where this is going to go. Don't try and influence him. Let him.
No peer pressure. No peer pressure.
Yeah. Eric would not give in to peer pressure. I don't believe that for a second.
No.
But Eric, there could be a bottle of Coca-Cola wine your way.
He looks like he's wavering a little bit.
No,
it's a tough question. It's not a slam dunk.
Yeah. What I like about I will reveal at the end of my comment, but I like the comparisons though. I love consider when we talked about the family going into the drug business and how that in Goodfellas is the downfall of Henry Hill when he gets in the drugs. So there's sort of like almost like a connection there, but to two complete. Oh my God, it's hard. But, I think, Godfather's channeling Shakespeare, it's like King Lear. And then, Scorsese, he's channeling the gangster pictures of the 30s and the 40s. I mean, that's it. I mean, he talks a lot about that stuff. And, so I think I'm going to go with Godfather. I think, because the more I watch it, it's compelling. It's like there's never been a time where I've seen it on television or anything, where I'm not sitting down and I'm like totally drawn in. And it's just a masterpiece of storytelling. I mean, when you think about The Sopranos, which I've never seen. I've never watched that series.
Wow.
Oh,
I don't
whoa.
Look, Sean, look at Sean.
Hang on. We got to pump the brakes for a second. I've been getting shit about not seeing Godfather.
Well, I purposely, I was going to bring this up.
Oh, is that the big reveal? Okay.
It's the
that
big
is
reveal.
my big reveal. But you know what? I don't have any intention of watching The Sopranos because I have The Godfather.
Let me tell you something.
If you break this movie up into scenes, that's a series. The opening shot of this film, it's a first half hour. That's the pilot of a show right there. Yeah. Then it goes into California. Then it goes in. There's just the way it's structured. And then you got Godfather 2 on top of that. I don't need to watch Sopranos at this point. I really,
and you make a great point because as great as The Sopranos is, I have no desire to ever watch it again. Like I watched it when it was out, and I don't feel like ever it's like, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with not revisiting it. It's kind of like it was good for what it was at the time. For me, it hasn't aged as well as I like. I don't look at it like I do with Deadwood. Or something that I want to binge and revisit again. It's like I watched it and it's okay.
It's also a big commitment, a series versus a movie too. So.
Yeah, but people, nowadays you do that in a weekend. It's like, I watched all 8 seasons. Okay, did you sleep, shower, go to the bathroom, and during any of that, or
no?
Dean,
put on a diaper and sat on the couch.
And then Dean, after you confess whether you think Goodfellas is better than Godfather, I have a confession to make as well about something I've never seen before.
Son will take you.
Well, we haven't heard from Dean yet.
Well,
that's what I was going to say.
Well, he's going to be a contrarian.
Hang on.
He's going to pick Goodfellas.
Nick, we'll take your confession first, Nick.
Okay.
No.
My son.
No. Nick, don't do it. Nick, don't do it, Nick.
Lighten your burden. Lighten your burden.
I've never seen Godfather Part 3.
Oh yeah, but that's okay.
Because I heard
it's not
negative
good.
things.
It's not good.
And then, but now it's like I can't even find it because now they have Coda, his re-edit, which I want to see, but I think I should see the original first to see how bad it was to see if this is better.
I'll lend you my copy, Nick.
Coda's as bad as the
send
original,
it to you.
so it doesn't matter.
Is it really? I heard it had to be a little better than the original.
It's not good.
Well, it came out the same year
for Best Picture, and was nominated.
It was, but
right. Yeah. I mean, it did come out around the same time as Goodfellas. So I mean, there's
90,
no
right? 1990.
Yeah.
But now we're in Pacino, like we're in the Pacino acting.
It was a different Pacino, yeah. Different
Sophia Coppola is not that good of an actress,
and I heard that's what ruined the movie.
Hang on a second. Hang on, Sean. What do you have to confess? This will be the confession.
Very
episode.
Cathartic.
True confessions. Lighten your load.
I feel like you put a couple of feelers out for movies that I've never seen, but I don't know if I have a big one. I don't know. Right. I'll think about it. I'll come back. I'll think about it while you reveal your choice. We're on the edge of our seats here.
I'm standing. I'm on the edge of the.
You've been standing the whole time. I'm impressed.
Well, I mean, this is not going to be shocking or a surprise. I have to say Goodfellas because I've only seen Godfather once, so I would need to watch it some more.
That's fair.
But having grown up on the diet of Goodfellas and a lot of the emotional attachments to the music of it.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant.
I can connect to it more because it picks up in the 50s and takes you through the 60s and 70s, so it's a little more timely for my sensibilities. Not that there's anything wrong with when The Godfather takes place, but and I like the The Godfather's a slow boil, right? That's what it is. This is just a slow building of tension and then a release. Like you're building up to Michael kind of. It's almost like someone clenching their fists and then finally letting go, and all the blood kind of rushes back. Goodfellas is rapid fire. It's like bang, bang, bang. Like it's taking you from one scene to the next, and you're kind of rolling through time, and you go. It's almost like you're going on a ride. Godfather was almost like I sat down. It's 3 hours. Like I was like I just got to settle into this, and Godfather is a movie that you let it unfurl. Right. It kind of rolls out. You learn the characters. You learn about Clemenza and Tessio, and you learn who Carlo is. There's all these side characters that kind of come in and out. It's more of like a drama. It's more like a family drama that you're watching about this family. And that's really what it is. And Goodfellas is very similar. It has the notions of family. And it has the notions of the reluctance to get into drugs, right? Because Paulie didn't want, we don't do that. We're not getting involved. So to Eric's point, without Godfather 2, like Goodfellas almost picks up literally where Godfather leaves off in the 50s.
That is a good point. Yeah,
like because the beginning of before Big Joe started a war in Appalachia, they talk about that. It almost kind of where they dropped it. Goodfellas picks up, and it's the modern. Brings it into the modern age, and it has those modern
definitely absolutely a relationship there, and I think Scorsese, I think he can admit
course,
of course, but because he's done so many films like that might be the reason why, because I love the sort of the slow pace of a film. I like getting immersed. I like the movie that can breathe, Goodfellas, when it first came out, you could argue, oh man, this was because you had not seen anything so like it just punches you right in the face, right? I mean, it's just so fast and so furious and so like, and so that you were already making those comparisons, and at that time you were just so excited at something so fresh that you might say I might have said Goodfellas is the better picture then. It's just, but Godfather. I mean, like I said, it just ages so well, and it's such an inspiration for a lot of, not just the gangster genre, but just the storytelling in general, and the structure of
pacing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Christy.
I love, again, Goodfellas is a phenomenal film, and I love it. And I think for me the difference is Goodfellas is a film and The Godfather is a saga. And so there's a separation there. And it's just like when you deal with books where it's just one novel, but then you have sagas. And so it's so much more complicated, The Godfather. And there's so, like I said before, there's so many layers to it, and there's so many different characters who are so well developed. And so when you look at that and you take that as a whole, it's just, if you're making me pick between the two, I'm gonna pick The Godfather. But I think just for me, it's a separation of just a singular film, and then this world we're brought into.
Sean, Godfather or Tommy Boy?
I love Tommy Boy. Don't crap on Tommy Boy.
Oh,
I
love Tommy Boy.
I love Tommy Boy.
Shawnee Ike, Tommy Boy.
Sean,
that guy.
Well, here's one for Dean. I mean, the National Registry considers Godfather to be the second greatest film ever made, after Citizen Kane.
Behind Kane. Okay.
So, Godfather or Citizen Kane?
Godfather.
I mean, yeah.
I love Kane. I love Orson Welles.
I love Kane too.
I love his performance in it. Orson Welles is that film, and the groundbreaking stuff that, not to get too far in the weeds, but Kane is beloved for different reasons as well, not just as film, but for what Welles was doing with film and cameras and sets, and so it was also a class in filmmaking besides everything else, right? And that's probably why Kane is always going to be at the top, not just because of the impact it had on filmmakers and filmmaking and what Welles was doing.
Yep.
So it's a different thing, but Sean, Tommy Boy or Godfather?
It's a sled, Rosebud.
Your head has a thick candy shell.
You ruined it, Sean.
I'm sorry. But Dean, so I got to ask, will you watch The Godfather Part 2?
For season 6.
Okay.
We're going to let it sit a couple of years.
About 15 years ago in the city, I forget which theater it was, they did a Godfather. I saw them both on the big screen, but they did
a marathon?
But it was like 2. It started out with 2.
They put it in order
chronological. Yeah.
It was it was interesting. I would have rather seen each movie on its own, but it was compelling. I did enjoy it, the way they cut it.
Yeah, that was out on VHS, right, Eric? They did restitch everything together, the saga or whatever it's called.
Our friend George had it. Remember George? He had the box set.
Yeah.
And I bought, and at the time I thought that was like the coolest thing that they restructured it. That now I'm like thinking, no.
There's a couple deleted scenes that aren't in the movies. Like there's a scene with Tessio, Clemenza, and Vito, and they were contemporaries in the beginning. They came up together, and Vito obviously emerged as the Don.
I urge Dean to watch Part 2 and do it soon, and don't have to do an episode on it necessarily.
Is that an order? Do it now.
Yes,
do it.
You can't refuse.
There you go. Thank you, Nick.
we've brought it up, but we brought it up for a very good reason.
For the win.
And we really need to experience that movie. I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on the film.
Okay,
just just chatting, and we don't have to do an episode on it.
No,
I'm just saying, it really is part of the whole.
Is it
the whole thing?
Is it the greatest sequel? Is it the greatest sequel?
Oh, absolutely.
No, Highlander 2.
Yeah. Greatest sequel ever made.
The Quickening.
Yeah.
Does Black Sheep count as a sequel to Tommy Boy?
No.
Oh my goodness.
All right, let's kind of get back on track. Let's do one favorite scene each, and then we'll wrap it up. Christy, go first since you've been chomping at the bit to reveal your
I made one
scene.
comment. That's not chopping at the bit. So don't soil yourself in the diaper.
Khartoum, the horse was chomping at the bit.
the scene with the baptism and all the murders, I think is probably one of the best scenes in film. Just again, like Sean said, it's the juxtaposition between the priest is baptizing this child, going through. They're in church. Do you denounce Satan? And he's like, I do. And then you cut to a murder, and it's just the back and forth, just the way it's done. And you have the music and the Italian in the church, and then goes to English. I love that scene. And prior to The Offer, once I saw The Offer, which we just touched on at the beginning, I went back and revisited The Godfather. And I was always a bigger fan, like Nick, of The Godfather 2. And then I was like, I love The Godfather.
I like 1.
I love now I prefer The Godfather 1 and I love Godfather Part 2. But one thing I always loved about The Godfather was that scene. I just think it's one of the best scenes in film to date.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I don't know if it was my version. I got it from Amazon Prime, but when I watched The Godfather before the credits came up, it said episode 4. So is there going to be like 3 more Godfathers beforehand? Or no? Or was that like a mistake? Or was I miss, no?
Another
Sean,
Star Wars diss. Yeah.
Sean, favorite scene?
Okay, so many, obviously, but I will do the one. I like
Give me all you got.
I like the assassination scene. Sterling Hayden, by the way, we got to give him a shout out. McCluskey.
Yep. The cop.
Great in that role.
Who apparently used to fall
I'm just getting
asleep.
grumpy in my old age.
He used to go down. He used to eat only like Whole Foods, and then he'd go down by the river and fall asleep. And they found kids throwing rocks at him or something. There's a lot of weird stories about this film.
All right. Anyway, go ahead, Sean.
No, I think that's a great scene, and that's supposedly the scene that saved Pacino's job because they wanted him out of that movie. And the guy who played Pacino in The Offer was like spot on.
Amazing,
amazing. But that scene is probably my favorite scene.
Nick Corleone.
I mean, every scene I love every scene. But I really like the when they all the families getting together, and Marlon Brando's performance is brilliant. But leading up before that, when he goes to the mortician. Right, and he's like, "Here's the offer," and he pulls back. He's like, "See how they massacred my boy." Right, I can't do the impersonation, but
why not?
I love that. Like, just what a performance by Marlon Brando. And it's just like
it reminded me of. I thought about it at the time. It actually reminded me of his scene in on the waterfront when Charlie got killed. And he's like, on the waterfront when he found Charlie, they killed Charlie, and he's like to Eva Marie Saint, for God's sake, don't leave him alone. And Brando had the same expression on his face when he pulled the sheet back on.
Yeah, it's just like
his eyebrows kind of went up, and he really.
I mean, so many people mimicked caricatured his performance and his jowls and his the way he performed. But it's a brilliant performance. I mean, he just transformed himself. I think it was Sean who said the guy, he's 47 years old. And he put cotton in his, and then he had the tooth pieces to make his jowls look older. And I mean, he ages in this movie. He's just incredible. I love that
Eric.
scene.
Probably the hospital scene and the scene where what we talked about, him ignoring Fredo. And yet Fredo's the only there with him, but the scene that I just love the scene where Michael tells him, "I'm with you now, Pop." And he, and then that whole business of him having to leave. But when it's very understated, but it's just talk about, Marlon Brando in that when he's lying there and he's just like, and they're going over what happened. And he's like, and the only thing he cares, he's like, "Where's Michael? Where's Michael?" And he's like, Michael was the one who shot Solos. And he's just like, he closes his eye. It's so heartbreaking because he didn't want this for him. Now he knows that he's in it. Yep. And he's never going to come back. He's never going to be what he wanted him to be. And it's just, and he just he's like, "Get the fuck out. Just go away. I don't even want to deal with you people anymore." Like, he's just, it's so,
The dream is over.
I love that shot. Yeah. And then the music kicks in and they go to Sicily, and he's, it's so great.
Yeah. I like the scene when, after, Brando got shot and, the scene, those, I think I mentioned it earlier, it's like a chaotic scene. It's like James Caan, Pacino, Duvall, they're all in that scene figuring out what to do when they want to set the meeting. And basically James Caan is like, Michael's not going to get involved in this. And then Michael's kind of says, let's set the meeting. And I thought to myself, I was like almost like James Caan, like almost like Michael was speaking out of turn. Like this is not his territory and he shouldn't be saying anything, but he kind of sat there because he was very, very meek about it. He goes, set the meeting and, get me a gun and have your informant do it, And I really liked that because there was so many great actors in the scene. I mean, Robert Duvall is just so great in it. And like I said, James Caan. So all these different characters and it was chaotic. We don't know what to do. And how do we respond to this request? And that's when you see Michael start, just calmly says, set the meeting, I'll go, and that kind of, that is almost like the match that gets lit, that starts him down that path. He could have, that was the point. He could have said, I don't want to be involved in this. And they would have come up with a different option, whether or not it was a good option. But that decision right there is kind of that's the turning point also, where he's kind of like, set the meeting, I'll go. Go ahead, Christy. And then we're going to
because we didn't really talk about Diane Keaton, who really did she did a great, a really wonderful performance. Two things. One, did you know that her, Pacino, and I think James Caan were all paid the same amount of money, which is pretty amazing back then. They were paid.
None of them were big. They weren't giants back then.
The fact that that again, we talk about this often enough, that she was paid the same amount of money as the two of them, which is pretty, I think, substantial. And I think Duvall made $1,000 more at $36,000.
Yeah. And considering her part wasn't, it was part two where she really comes into her own, right? But it sets the groundwork for sure.
But I think the last scene is also worth mentioning with her, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, where she, I think Dean brought it up, where she asks him, and he's like, I'll let you ask me about my business once, and he lies to her. And then she goes and gets a drink, and kind of, Dean, I think you commented about The Office being in the house and everything. And so when the camera cuts away and she's making the drink and you can see in The Office, it looks like they're redoing The Office, right? Like, because it's a little bit, the lighting is a little different. It looks a little empty. Like they're going to make it Michael's office now. And then the door shutting is really a wonderful way to end the film. It's a great scene. It's certainly worth mentioning. And I definitely wanted to make sure that we didn't skip over Diane Keaton in this, because she wasn't in the film a whole lot, but when she was, she was the only, for the most, there weren't a lot of women in the film who had, even, Connie's not in it all that much, but they do hold their own. It's a predominantly male film. So
Apollonia. I love Apollonia.
Even the mom is great.
Tuesday.
Even Mrs. Corleone is great. She sings in the beginning.
She's so great.
She's like a jazz singer. She's was like a professional jazz singer. Yeah.
Cool. So there's a whole lot to digest in this film. We've only scratched the surface, but we're gonna leave it there, and leave it to people that have seen it before to watch it again. People that have seen it for the first time, like myself. Don't tell your friends, because they're gonna treat you like I got treated. So just keep it, some secrets you keep to yourself. Keep your mouth shut and never rat on your friends. That's from Goodfellas. That's what I learned. Keep your mouth shut and never rat on your friends.
Now
so I'm not going to tell you about any more movies I haven't seen, lest I get ridiculed endlessly. So thank you all for joining us. If you've made it this far into the episode and you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. Go ahead. It helps us in the algorithm, helps people find us, pushes us to the front of YouTube so they can get more great stuff and check out what we have to offer. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast provider, go ahead and rate. If you have the ability to give a rating, leave comments too. We respond to comments. We love to
buy the merch.
And there's the merch. There it is.
Buy the merch.
Oh, I love Nick. Nick is great. He should have the can koozie by now, I hope too. It should have come to him. Okay. I think it's on its way. Anyway, that's going to do it. Sean Grady, thank you so much. Drama from the Past. We're going to put a link in the show notes for that. So go check out what he's doing in his spare time as well. Nick Leshi, City of Kick, blog post. We're going to extraordinaire. We're going to put a link to the show notes in there as well. So you can have 2 links that are clickable. You can check out. Christy Cuomo, thank you as always for joining us. Much appreciated. No link for Christy. She's linkless right now. And as for Eric and I, you know where you can find us. We're here at the 3324 podcast. We're going to be sitting in our comfortable chairs waiting until the next time we see each other. So for Sean, for Christy, for Nick, and of course for Eric, this has been Dean asking you to please be kind. And as we begin season 4, go ahead and rewind.
You've been listening to the 3324 podcast with Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider, so please like, subscribe, and rate to become a part of the 3324 family. Your feedback is important, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 3324 podcast and on Twitter at 3324p to join the conversation.